Good evening and welcome to the Charlton Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, August 5th, 2014. I'd ask that we begin with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our meeting this evening will consist of a review of the minutes of the Selectmen's meeting, the special Selectmen's meeting of March 13th, 2014, and also review of the Selectmen's minutes of the Selectmen's regular meeting of July 22nd, 2014. That will be followed by community relations, announcements, and open forum. We have one, under appointment and resignations, we have one item, which is a correction to the EDC appointment. We have two scheduled appointments. We have a 6:30 thank you grants announcements with Senator Brewer, and at 6:45 we have an appointment to discuss the senior tax work-off program. We have three items under new business. First is a discussion of a pilot program and an update on that. Our second item is a request for a special one-day license. And our third item under new business is a site plan application for a home-based daycare business. We don't have any items under old business because we're so efficient. That'll be followed by any committee reports and policy reviews that we may have, which will be followed by the town administrator's report, and then any other business that wasn't known at the time of posting of the warrant. Our next meeting is we will be having a goals and objectives workshop on August 12th, 2014, and our next regular Selectmen's meeting will be on August 19th. We will be going into executive session this evening, and we will exit executive session solely for the purpose of adjournment. I would entertain the board's wishes with regards to the minutes of the special meeting of March 13th.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Zafirovich?
I move that we accept the March 13th meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? None appearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain,
Was that before the election, I think?
yes.
March 13th was before the
I can't
election.
second it then.
Well,
You
you can second
abstained?
I can second it, but I'll
You can
abstain.
say, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
Yes.
We have 3 ayes, 2 abstentions, motion carries. Thank you. And with regards to the minutes of the Selectmen's regular meeting of July 22nd,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Zafirovich?
I move that we accept the July 22nd meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on that motion? None appearing, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I'm going to bear with me a second while I back up. I was getting ahead of myself.
60?
This-
Oh,
No, I
Community
want the
relations.
community announcements. We get through the minutes. We're saving lots of paper, but it can be a little more time consuming sometimes. We have nothing under community relations. Do we have anyone here for open forum this evening? Apparently not. Anyone from the board? Mrs. Zafirovich?
Through the chair, last night I attended the Bay Path School Committee meeting. Just a couple of things. I want to congratulate Robert Zakowski on being elected chairman again. And I want to thank Robert Wilby for doing an awesome job as chairman for the past 2 years. Also, at the meeting, they said that they received the okay from the state for $50,000 for the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission to do a study in the areas around the towns and the vocational schools to do a local agricultural school program. So I thought I want to bring that to the board.
That's good news.
So,
That's good
Just wanted to
news.
say that
Mm-hmm.
the ball's rolling with that, and hopefully in the future that
Excellent.
will possibly come to fruition.
Thank you for that update.
That'll save us some money.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
And I did see Senator Brewer just take a note.
Any other announcements? And no, again, no one here for open forum. We do have one item before we get to our first scheduled appointment. We have one appointment. Ms. Graver?
Yes, sir. It's a correction to the Economic Development Commission appointment. At the board's July 8th meeting, it was recommended and voted to appoint Peter Boyer as a full-time 3-year member to the Economic Development Commission. In viewing the appointments made at the board's last meeting on July 22nd, the board should have only made 6 appointments, and the 7th appointment is made by the planning board. I've spoken with Mr. Boyer, and he has agreed to be an alternate on the EDC if the Board of Selectmen approve That therefore you are asked to rescind the motion made at the July 8th meeting and recommend a new motion to appoint Peter Boyer as an alternate member to the EDC for 1 year.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Singer?
I would move that we rescind the motion made at the July 8th meeting appointing Mr. Boyer as a 3-year member of the EDC.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? None appearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Singer?
I'd like to move that we appoint Mr. Peter Boyer as an alternate member to the EDC for 1 year.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Is there any discussion? None appearing. Then all those in favor? Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We will move on to our first appointment, our 6:30 appointment. Ms. Craver?
Okay. While I'm getting to that, I do want to thank Mr. Boyer for being flexible in those appointments. Next is a thank you to Senator Brewer. The chairman asked Senator Steve Brewer to ask to be attending tonight's meeting in order for the town to personally thank him for his efforts on several grants the town and Historical Society received. In particular, Senator Brewer included in the budget, the FY15 state budget, a total of $236,000, which included $30,000 to build a playground, $60,000 to repair the leaky roof at Fay Mountain Farm, $6,000 to construct dugouts at the ball field, and $30,000 to replace the HVAC system chiller at the town library. Actually, that is to repair it and find a solution to the noise problem. And $110,000 to restore historically significant building, the Ryder Tavern, outside exterior. He also advocated for the CDBG grant to install an elevator in Town Hall, along with affordable housing repairs and home loan program, which we received. We have also been fortunate in receiving a grant for a ladder truck in the amount of $940,000. We will truly miss Senator Brewer, as he will be entering the realm of retirement in the fall. I know I will miss his regular statement to me, "Robin, have I ever let you down?" I can say that all that we have asked, Senator, you have certainly responded.
And I would like to, if I could, ask the senator to come up, and I'm going to ask the board if they could step down. And I know we have some people here that would like to thank the senator as well, so I'd like to invite them up as well. Senator, if you would, don't trip. Look at this. So you know how to back a room.
There's a second level here.
There's a second. How about the back?
Try not to stay in the back of Rick.
Yeah, that might be a futile. The chief can stand in the back of me. I know, there's no one to talk to now. I'm in my 9th year as a selectman, and Senator Brewer's been our state senator that entire time. And lots of times when we share time at events, I always mention what a great friend he's been to the town of Charlton, and I'm sure a lot of people put that up to political speak or common courtesy or whatever they may want to chalk that up to. But I think what was shown here is that Senator Brewer has not only been a great friend for the town of Charlton, but has been a great legislator, a great advocate on our behalf. And I just want to recap what Robin announced. In this fiscal year alone, as a clear result of Senator Brewer's work, we have $30,000 to build a new playground for the children of this town. We have $60,000 to repair the leaky roof at Fay Mountain, $6,000 to construct dugouts over at Memorial Field, which, while it's aesthetic, is also a very large safety issue. $30,000 for the library. We've had issues with noise from the chiller that's going over there, so we're going to be able to address that issue. $110,000 to restore the outside of Ryder Tavern, one of the most historic buildings in this town. And in addition to that, we have been trying, I believe this was our 5th year applying for the Community Block Development Grant to try to bring our town hall building here into ADA compliance. And with the senator's help this year, along with the town of Leicester, we're participating. We were awarded approximately $750,000 Community Block Development Grant, which our portion will go to get this building up to ADA compliance and hopefully finally get our elevator installed. And in addition to that, it was a federal grant, but Senator has always advocated for us to the federal level as well. And as we announced the other day, we received an approximately $940,000 grant to buy a new ladder truck for the town, which will serve us well into the future. And some of these things, as anyone who pays attention, comes to town meeting and reads the papers, these items are items that, with all the fiscal constraints the town has faced recently, these are items that we just haven't been able to do. If it's to buy $1 million, I'm sorry?
You know what? I actually forgot that, to put something in there.
What was that?
Senator Brewer got through the Senate, $6 million for water.
Oh.
We'll roll like that, $6 million here, $6 million.
We're just saving the
Yeah, we
joke
certainly
out.
don't want it. That's the most recent bill, which included $6 million to help to rectify, build a water system here in town. A lot of these things, $1 million for a fire engine, $110,000 to help restore Fay Mountain Farm, to fix, we've been going around for a while on the chiller problems at the library. These are things with the budget constraints that the town just hasn't been able to address. And we all gripe when we send our tax money off to the state and to the federal government. But thanks in this case particularly to Senator Brewer and some of the work at the federal level on the fire engine, we're able to get these things and help the town move forward and address some issues that have really been issues and problems for the town in the past. And Senator Brewer, on behalf of the town, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us. You truly have gone beyond being a friend to be a true advocate and a true legislator, and work tirelessly on behalf of the town. Everyone standing up here wants to thank you
Thank you, Rick.
and appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I'd like to point out. I'd point out that if we were to actually recite and list off everything we've done, we'd be here past your retirement. So we kept it short. Thank you.
And we will have a chance, Senator Brewer already assured me that he will be at Old Home Day, so we'll have another chance to thank him for all his years of service before he rides off into the sunset.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Is this my turn to talk?
It is your turn to talk.
Well, everybody take your seats.
Yeah.
Everybody take your seats. I just wanted to have a few words to the good people of Charlton. Not being used to a chief. Where should I park myself?
Right, either one of those, Senator. Just pull that microphone over to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those kind words, and this town is very special to me. And I've had no problem getting in my car, driving to Charlton on many an occasion. I want to give a shout out to Skip Ellery, who was probably my first friend when I first ran for office, and he and his family have been great friends. And my pulse for this community is obviously Karen Spiewak, who keeps me abreast all of these things. And you know, the irony of things, I just listened to the minutes, and the Bay Path Regional Vo-Tech School, this ag school program, is something that Ann Goby was working towards. Massachusetts growing and fresher. I was born and brought up on a farm, and those are very, very important things. Happy are those who dream dreams and are willing to pay the price to make them come true. This CDBG grant with Leicester. Whoever thought that Leicester and Charlton would be out of the same harness? But you know, there's oftentimes you get frustrated when you apply for these grants, and you may want to give up on those things. Don't give up on them. Leicester is a perfect example. They applied for their senior center money 9 times, if I recall, before they got that. They have a very lovely senior center. I'm very proud and happy about that $900,000 for that ladder truck. My elementary school that I went to cost less than that ladder truck did. But you know, the chief and the fire service, they come to you and they tell you 2 things. Give us the equipment and give us the training, and we will get the job done. This tower truck now doesn't necessarily reach the high buildings in Charlton. Many times it reaches out across perhaps a water course where a kid may have fallen through the ice, or many other things. And they will maintain this truck for the next 35 years. And that's a great value. These smaller grants, obviously for the Historical Society and improving the quality of our heritage in this community is special. But I want to single out the smallest of those grants is $6,000 for that Little League dugout. And many of you may have heard me say this before. Cindy, you may have heard me say this. But in May of 1965, I was the catcher for the Barry High School baseball team. And when you're the catcher, you get the dirtiest hands of all, because you're behind home plate. That was also the day of my junior prom, and I was also the class president where you gave out the class ring at your prom. We went into extra innings on that field, and I had to, instead of riding the slow school bus back to Barry, had to get a ride home so I could shower, get in my tuxedo that cost me $20 to rent, and to go to my junior prom. And so when I knew about this particular grant, it held a very special affection for me over the years. The money for handicapped accessibility for this office building is hugely important. Handicapped accessibility put forward and signed by George Bush, President number 41, and promoted by Bob Dole, who was grievously wounded in World War II. Handicapped accessibility is not a privilege. It is a right for all of our citizens. There's also further funding for the library that we put in the budget for the state aid to public libraries and the library technology program. When Karen tells me to jump on libraries, I ask her when I can come back down for that. And I do want to clarify now, because I know press releases sometimes, environmental bond for the $6 million that obviously is in this bond. Rick is a great baseball fan. You never get to second base unless you get to first base. The environmental bond gets you to first base. The next governor, whoever he or she may be, the case can be made. The first question will be asked when you push in for something like this. And as I've said many times, Mobil Exxon's profits for 6 seconds, because I've done the math, Mobil Exxon's profits for 6 seconds would mediate every water problem for the town of Charlton. They're the ones responsible for that 11,000 gallons of gasoline into 6W that has made the #1 political problem in this town a nightmare for 25 years. And that they have a fiduciary and a moral responsibility to stand up for the quality of life for the citizens of this town. But to the helping of an alternative water source or delivery capacity in that environmental bond is very, very important. 90% funding for regional school transportation. My parting kiss to Sean Gilrain. 90%. I'm 66 years old, and never in my lifetime has regional school bus transportation been at that level. Full funding for special education circuit breaker for the 3rd year in a row. All of these things make a difference. Why do I do those things? I'm the chairman of the budget committee, have been for 4 years. Now, it may sound pretty cool with a big chandelier and a big office and a beautiful view of the State House. 3 nights last week, I took the cushions off of the couch and slept on the floor in my office in the State House. And I'm getting a little old for doing that, but it's been, if you ever go to Logan Airport and you come out of the tunnel, you emerge from that tunnel and you see these incredible soccer fields and athletic fields. You know what I'm talking about? The dream space?
Yep.
You know how they got them? Because some Senate president was able to deliver for East Boston. And my capacity for delivering from Charlton to Ashburnham on the New Hampshire border, because you people deserve that. And we have used the might of this office to deliver for this district. I have a special place in my heart for Charlton. My mom and dad lived here many, many, many years ago when my dad was a meat cutter for Stearns. And I will be back. I will be back on more than one occasion. This is a wonderful, wonderful community. And the people that are listening to this broadcast tonight or on the reruns, because it's a beautiful night, thank you for giving me the opportunity to live my dream. As a little boy, when I was a catcher for that Barry High School team, my dream was to serve in public service. I came into this arena in 1960 remembering John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Thank you. Thank you, members of the Board of Selectmen, past, present, and future. Thank you, the people in back of me. I waved to Jim on his way back to Spencer. I will tell you this, at municipal police training this year, I went to the Worcester County Police Chiefs Association, and they gave me a ration for the amount of money. And we took that from $2.8 million to $5 million this year for municipal police. And I know the Chief Kirby is appreciative of that, and the fire department here, and the planning board. And John, it's good to see you up there. Longtime friend of mine. David, always a quality guy as well. Robin, you're the best. Rick, a true friend. Joe, you got a few things to learn, but you'll come around. Cindy, thank you, and your husband as well. Thank you, Charlton. God bless you. God bless America.
Thank you, Senator. And what I'd like to do at this point, if anyone here would like to come up and say a couple of words regarding Senator Brewer, I'd like to open it up to do that.
Senator, do you want to stay at the seat?
Yes, Senator, don't wander away yet.
Through the chair, I believe Cindy remembers this, but the senator wasn't even the senator for Charlton at the time, and we were trying to get Fay Mountain Farm. And there was a lot of wheeling and dealing in the back hallways done. And we were able to have Department of Agriculture declare that that Masonic Home was taking some land out of the agricultural stock up there to do their expansion, and it was a wash when they paid the amount of $10,000 per acre to take it out, and it matched the amount of money that the town had to come up with, and for that we thank you very much.
I just wanted to say that it's been many years that Deb Cheslick and I have been the legs for the seniors, running back and forth up and down the stairs to help them to do their business up here in the upper town hall, and to have an elevator down there so that they can have their independent staff. So on behalf of the board, the council on aging board, and the seniors at the senior center.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Could you speak into the mic so people at home?
Yeah, have a seat if you would, Frank. And,
Sit here?
yeah, if you would, please.
Sure, she gets to stand. I have to
Well, she caught us off guard.
I understand. I'm fortunate, I get to wear two hats. I'm here for as president of the Historical Society and also as chairman of the Finance Committee. And as chairman of the Finance Committee, I get to sleep a little better now knowing that I don't have to worry where some of that money's coming from. We don't have to argue with some of the meetings when we want to give the money, when the money is needed, but the money isn't there. And so I really have a heartfelt thanks to the senator for working hard and diligently and putting that on the table for us. It's extremely appreciated by the entire board and by the town of Charlton. Steve Brewer and I share another passion. I think it's history. As a retired history and law teacher and as an extreme Civil War history buff that the senator is, we talk history quite often. And certainly that brings us to the Ryder Tavern, which was put together in 1799, and we've had 38 years of working on that since we acquired it to finish the inside. And the roof has become a problem. It's a wood roof, and they only last a certain number of years. And it's been up there 37 years on the front. In addition to that, we've got siding that's in terrible shape, and a lot of people don't know that. They'll say, "What's that big yellow building? Who owns that?" Well, it's owned by the Historical Society, and it's a beautiful building inside. It's complete, but the outside is a mess, and we are going to put new siding on it. And so I thank the senator greatly for what he has done to preserve that historical gem for decades to come. It means a lot to me personally because I love history, and I think it will mean an awful lot to the town. So for that, I thank him with both hats.
Thank you.
Through the chair, Senator Brewer, would you come up and sit at the table?
You know,
That
calling
might be a
hours
little
at
more
Morrow
co-
Funeral Home would be through the floor.
This is a preview.
I'm Stephen Sage, I'm Vice Chair of the Charlton Public Library Board of Trustees, and 6 years ago, I believe, is when we opened our 21st century library after having a 19th century library for many, many years into the 20th century. And it's the senator's constant push to fund what is something I think is somewhat unique to Massachusetts. I don't know of too many states that have a building program through the library commissioners to help libraries throughout the state build and renovate improve their situation. And I really appreciate the fact that this town now has the quality library that we have for the citizens here. But I also have to remark that Massachusetts is called the Commonwealth. And as you all know on the board, I'm always willing to give more of my wealth to this town. I stand up at town meetings because I recognize that the Commonwealth brings great things to the common good of our society. And I think Stephen Brewer is a role model for recognizing that common good that he can do by providing funds throughout the state, but also especially through our district. And for that understanding of the concept of community and the common good of mankind and peoplekind, I really, really thank him and will really, really miss him in Boston.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anyone else? You're not done yet, Senator.
You had to know I was going to say something. Hi, Karen Spiewak. I just want to personally thank the senator because he always had an open door when I came knocking at the State House, whether as advocating for regional transportation or when I was a library trustee for state aid. You were there and you were always honest. Anyone who knows Steve Brewer, Senator Brewer, will tell you he's a straight shooter. You know, he's not going to sugarcoat it. He'll tell you as it is. And I so appreciate that. And I first met Senator Brewer, surprise, surprise, when we were having water issues across the street when we were renovating and expanding the Charlton Public Library. And he came and he helped mediate meetings, and we have a lot to be thankful for, and you certainly will be missed.
Thank you.
Enjoy your retirement.
Thank
Well
you,
deserved.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. All right, enough. You gotta-
Oh, no, oh,
We
no,
have one more.
we got one more.
You've had a good week, man.
He's on a roll, he's looking.
Get in there. You know, it's
Strike while the iron's hot.
Yes, exactly. Definitely a great thing for us, and, yeah, if I knew that we were gonna have a roast for you, I would've brought props, but, the biggest thing I wanna say is thank you for all your public service. When we get into the public service realm, it's really somewhere passionate in your heart that you have, and I truly feel that with you, and I've really taken that and tried to be somewhat of a mentor out of your leadership and the roles that you have done and proven through our community. And I sometimes really try to emulate some of those things. So I appreciate everything that you have done for us, for the town, for our community, for the state and everything. So, and especially, you know, with the $1 million, grant coming for the ladder truck is definitely well suited for a nice send-off. So, and I invite you down when we do get it. You're welcome to come on down. We'll be
I don't have to
giving
go
you
to
a
the top,
ride.
do I?
No, we'll see you halfway. But, we're welcome to give you a ride, and we'd love to have you.
Thank you. I remember the night of that fire over on 31, or that building, and that was a very, very, very tough night. And how lucky we are to have first responders, police, EMTs, and our fire departments. And they are the Minutemen and women of the 21st century, you know. Again, you only ask for equipment and training, and you'll do the job. Good health to you, my friend. Thank you very much. All right, I'm gonna get out of here.
It
You
is.
guys got work to do.
Thank you, Senator Brewer.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you at Old Home Day.
We will see you at Old Home Day, and
As well, to all of you for coming out tonight on a beautiful night. Deb, you always great work, Deb LaPaca.
Always a pleasure.
Very appreciative of all of that. And Kathleen Walker, thank you for coming tonight, leaving the palatial hacienda, my best to your wonderful husband. And to all of you, my friends, I bid you a fond adieu. And don't let anybody say, when you say, why is he retiring? People often say, how you feeling? Which is code for how's your cancer? I am well. I am well. 35 years of commuting to Boston, and it's time for Valerie Brewer. It's time for my wife. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night, Frank. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Frank.
okay, Believe it or not, we do have some other business we have to get through tonight.
Everyone's leaving.
Once again, our special thanks to Senator Brewer. And boy, I don't envy the person who takes his place. Those are some mighty big shoes to be filling. We do have, and I apologize for those here for our 6:45 appointment for running a little late, but we do have a 6:45 appointment to discuss the senior tax work-off program. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. We've been asked to place the senior tax work-off program on the agenda for discussion. We have scheduled them for 6:45. You have backup documentation in your packets.
Thank you.
And
If you ladies would please introduce yourselves, and then the floor is yours.
Elaine Mataris, I'm the Council on Aging Director.
Deborah Ciccarini, Director of Assessing.
So, there's some highlights of the changes that we'd like to do to the tax work-off. It previously had been, changed by Paul Delaney, who is no longer here, so he was going to actually, take over the administering of the program along with myself. However, he isn't here anymore, and I would actually like Chesley, the outreach coordinator, to administer the program with me, and her being the main administrator. So there's several changes we wanted to go over, and do you want me to just read them? And are they on your?
We do have them, but I'm thinking there's not that much for the people that are watching at home. It might be helpful if you would.
Okay, so currently in the program, the applicants are selected from lowest to highest income. We weren't asking them to give us just a base income. We weren't asking for proof of income. This time around, the change will be that applicants who exceed the income restrictions will not be eligible for the program. So as a single person, $35,000 per year, and as a couple, it would be $50,000 per year, with a maximum of $60,000 per year for any additional household members. So that would be the first change. The next change would be, currently there are no limit on assets, and we would like to change that as well. We'd like to put a limit as the restrictions would be, a single would be $7,000, and for a couple it would be $10,000. Assets that will not include a primary home assessed with a value of no more than $500,000, one automobile per individual, and qualified retirement funds. The next one would be currently, the program does not provide clarification on town employees' participation because of the conflict of interest law. However, the change that we made, and Paul had called the ethics committee on this, the town of Charlton employees who are eligible under these program guidelines may participate excluding any employees who conduct administration and/or application decision-making for the tax work-off. And it's in accordance with Regulation 930 CMR. So that means that myself or Deborah would not be able to participate, but any other town employees could. Then currently the program operates from July 1st to June 30th of each year. We would like to change that to operate from January 1st to November 30th. It makes it a lot easier for everybody involved to do a calendar year rather than a fiscal year. Also currently, we had to fill out a W-4 deferred compensation paperwork that has to be completed, but also there's a change of a 1.45% for Medicare and a 7.5% for deferred comp that will be deducted from the 500 abatement for the hours that are worked. That can't be changed, that's, a regulation. And then additional changes also include a confidentiality agreement, and the certificate of completion has also been revised to include the treasurer, so the correct amount of payment can be annotated for the assessor's office.
Mrs. Zafirovich?
Just a quick question. Is there a reason why in the operation period it doesn't include the month of December?
Yes, because I think you need that time.
Right, this is, the Assessors Act as kind of a liaison between this program and the issuing of the tax bills. It just makes it a lot easier
Okay.
if we've got that information, and it can be deducted right on the tax bill. They feel a lot better about seeing it on there rather than getting it after the fact, so it works out well.
The only thing I think would have to do, first of all, thank you for your work on this. These seem like very well thought out, common sense modifications to this. My concern is going to be funding it. But actually, it isn't a cost to the town, really. My concern is changing of the dates and having it not coincide with the fiscal year of the town. But where it's really not a matter of the town expending funds, maybe that really wouldn't be an issue.
I think we've only done the fiscal year for a couple of years. Previously, it always was.
It was a calendar
This was
year,
a calendar.
which would coincide with the tax work-off program to
Yes.
make it work with
And
the
it
tax.
does come out of the equity account. I mean, this is like any other exemption,
Right.
like veterans or blind or
Right,
anything.
right.
So it is subsidized by tax dollars.
Yeah, and I didn't mean it wasn't costing us.
Right.
It is subsidized, but it's nothing that, I can't think of anything that we necessarily have to act upon
Oh, I see what you're saying.
at budget time to do that, unless there's something I'm missing.
They would be able to manage
Yeah, once it's funded, you could fund it
Exactly.
and manage it as it
Should
goes
be fine.
forward. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your work on it.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend.
Yeah, I would
approval.
think that we approve these changes and approve the modifications to the tax work-off program.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Zafirovich?
I move that we approve the changes as laid out in our memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? None appearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on this.
Can I just say too, also, that now we will be taking applications for the tax work-off program if any of the seniors are out there. And we also can, do volunteers, can work for a senior who is unable to. So please see Deborah Cheslick or myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
And thank you, Deborah, for taking over.
And we will move on to new business. And our first item under new business is an update on the proposed pilot program. Ms. Craver, when you're ready.
Yes, sir. At a previous meeting, you asked Selectman McGrath and Selectman Safarovich to work with the Assessors Department to make recommendations on developing a plan to approach tax-exempt landowners to consider voluntarily paying for town services. During the meeting, it was decided to break the properties into 3 groups: the business organizations, religious groups, and state and federal land. Please see the attached list that breaks out the properties into those said groups. That list has been adjusted also, and we'll get you a new one. We suggested sending out a letter to the groups, inviting them to a roundtable to look at programs other towns have implemented, and to get suggestions on how such a program might work in Charlton. The first roundtable is proposed to be the nonprofit business organizations. We believe that the town needs input from those that the program would affect. Please see the attached draft letter for your consideration. We need a date that you would like to hold the meeting and recommend Thursday, August 28th. If you approve the letter, it will go to the assessors and finance committee asking them to also sign. And I believe Selectman Safarovich and McGrath might have some additional things to add.
Well, I think Robin hit on most of the highlights. What we do agree with the assessors and with the town administrator that we need to move forward on this. Basically, we're not even calling it a pilot program. What we want to do is just explain to these entities about the cost of services that they use. We're not talking about schools, we're talking about public safety services, what the percentage of the budget, and we believe that a meeting with them with a little bit of a word from Rick as a forward, Debbie explaining what other communities are doing and the state law that's currently in the legislature, and with the chairman of the finance committee explaining to them the dire need for something to this effect. We wouldn't be moving forward with this if we didn't, if we didn't need the money.
Mrs. Zafirovich?
Just to add that, we want this to be a discussion, a dialogue between us all. We're not demanding, we're not saying, give us money. We're asking people to join, to volunteer, to help the town.
One of the other interesting things that, because we met at 5 o'clock before this meeting, that came up was that we have many taxpayers that pay their taxes, but then they do even go above and beyond and give back to the community. So we're just hoping that each person will feel that it's important to step up and help contribute, each entity.
Any questions for any member of the board?
Just like the comment that it's nice to see things we talked about in the past with the pilot program about looking at economic development and changing the way we think about business in Charlton, actually getting stuff done. So it's, awesome working with you guys to help accomplish these things.
Would you like me to read the letter so that people at home would know what we're talking about?
As my name is going to be on it, how about if I,
I think that'd be great.
Here's a letter that's being proposed to be sent out to those on that will be discussing a potential pilot or fee-for-services type agreement. And it says, "Dear community member, the town of Charlton is faced with the challenge of declining resources combined with an ever-increasing demand for local government services. We understand the invaluable, tangible services which are being provided by your organizations. However, we believe an even stronger partnership between your organization and our community is achievable. As costs of government continue to escalate, we hope you'll agree that everyone should share in the costs for municipal services. In 1780, the legislature assisted the arts, sciences, and natural history by granting reasonable tax exemptions. Tax-exempt nonprofit organizations, along with properties owned by the Commonwealth, make up 20% of the Charlton's total landmass, or $263,783,033 in value. That's a loss of potential revenue estimated to be $3,340,500. As you know, this revenue pays for services such as police and fire that organizations such as yours enjoy. Across the state, cities and towns are partnering with tax-exempt organizations for a service fee to help fund lost revenues. These contributions are voluntary. The Board of Selectmen and the Board of Assessors would like to invite you to attend a roundtable discussion to give you an overview of what other towns' voluntary fee-for-services program entail and to get your input as we look at developing a program in Charlton. The roundtable will be held, and there's a slot for the date and time. Please RSVP to Robin Craver, Town Administrator, at Robin's email address and our office number. Your attendance and cooperation in this important program is greatly appreciated. We anticipate that once the program is finalized, representatives will contact the individual organizations to ask for participation. And that will be going out signed by myself, Keith Johnson, Chairman of the Board of Assessors, and Frank Morrow, Chairman of FinCom. I would entertain the board's wishes if we want to approve this letter to be sent, or
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Singer?
I would move that we send it as soon as I email Ms. Craver two corrections.
As long
Mine,
as
just
That's
minor.
they're just typos and not,
Just
not
typo.
content.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair,
Mrs.
during our
Zafirovich.
meeting, I thought we talked about changing a couple of things about it.
Well, I think we were going to attach an agenda, which we would be able to, as Selectman McGrath had just outlined. So I think that was the only thing.
Okay. And also, maybe we should vote on a date before approving the letter.
Do we have any proposals for dates? Did you say August 28th?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that the date you were proposing for it?
Yes, sir.
At what time?
It's up to you.
6?
I'd rather do 6:30 or 7, give people a chance to get home from work and
Okay.
such, and, so 6:30?
6:30, we'll keep it.
Well, what if we meet at 6:30, we start off at 7?
That's fine.
Tuesday
We'll
night.
post it for 6:30
28th
and go from there.
Thursday.
Chair,
Mr.
I
Zafirovich?
move that we hold this meeting on August 28th at 6:30 PM in the Senior Center.
It's a Thursday.
Second?
Yep.
Motion and a second on a date and time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Excuse me?
I'm going to abstain. I'm on 2 of the boards.
Then we have 4 aye, 1 abstention? Very good, thank you. And now we have a motion to have the letter approved and sent out with the typos fixed. Is there a second to that motion?
Second right here.
Please, we have a motion and a second now. Any discussion on that motion? None appearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We have 4 aye, 1 abstention again. Thank you. And guys, thank you for your work on this.
And I want to thank the assessors too, and as well as
Yeah.
Ms. Craver.
I think this is important, and unfortunately necessary step going forward. And our next item up under new business is a request for a special one-day license. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a request from Christine Ham for a special liquor license for wine and malt beverages to be used for a wedding to be held at Camp Joslin Dining Hall grounds on Saturday, September 14th, from 4 to 11 p.m. This request has been approved by the Building Commissioner, Fire Department, and Police Department. The Fire Department has stipulated that they follow the NFPA 72, NAFPA 25, and Crowd Manager CMR 527. All requirements within the policy have been met. Per the board's policy, the license, if approved, should be issued for 2 additional days for the following reasons. Day 1 is to allow delivery of the alcohol to the establishment, no sales allowed. Day 2 for the sale on the approved date and time as listed, and Day 3 to allow for pickup of any unused alcohol, which there are no sales allowed at that day either. I would recommend the board approve the special license with the stipulations requested by the fire department for the dates of September 13, 14, and 15 of 2014. The fee for this license is $25.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Singer?
In many cases where we get license requests, there's also input from police or building commissioner. So in this case, all we need is fire and we're good?
This is building
We
commissioner,
have building,
fire, and police, if you
We
look
have
at the
them all
second.
for you now.
So, and that's just, these 3 stipulations are from those, all
Yes.
3 of them?
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
Mr. Zafirovich?
I move that we approve the special alcohol license with the stipulations laid out in the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I have one question for the chief, if I could. And Chief, my only question on this is, what are the mechanisms in place to make sure that those involved understand the requirements under NFPA 72 and 25 and the crowd manager ordinance?
NFPA 72 is the fire alarm testing certificate. Right now, they do not have a current certificate, but what happens is one just ran out and they have an inspection ready for the next one. So
Okay.
then that is also true about the NFPA 25 certificate, which is the fire pump system that's there. That needs to be updated as well. The crowd manager basically is a certificate that they need from the Massachusetts Department of Public Safety, and they can issue, they can take a test. It's about a 3-hour program. They can take a test. Once we receive that certification, we'll be all set on that as well. We don't see any issues with any of the 3 certifications, but we just want to make sure that they're there before the event is held.
And the parties understand what these are and understand what's involved in getting them completed.
Correct. 2 of them are the responsibility of the event holder's location itself, and the other one is the request, the person requesting the permit.
Right. Very good. Thank you. Do you have any other comments or questions? We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And lastly, under new business, we have a site plan application for a home-based daycare business. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached,
Excuse
please
me.
find a copy of a site plan application submitted to the planning board by Ms. Kelly Lynch for approval to open and operate a home-based daycare business at 141 Saundersdale Road. Said property is zoned agriculture. The planning board has scheduled the application public hearing for an August 13th board meeting agenda. Should you wish to provide a comment on the application, please submit your comment to me at the planning board, or at the planning board office no later than Thursday, August 7th. The Board of Health did do a letter, and that is in your box if you care to see that.
the question I had, and I'm not sure if anyone at this table can answer that, is this type of application, is this a case where neighbors have to be notified and have an opportunity to
Yes, there-
offer input?
There's an abutters list that
There
has
is
to
an
come out of
abutters
the
list.
assessor's office. I forgot what the radius is, but all those people have to be notified that their planning board's holding a public hearing on it.
Okay, so as a part of this application, that will take place?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Does anyone like to offer any input to the planning board on this application? No? Ms. Craver, if you just send a note down there that we did review it and have no issues.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And we have no items under old business. Do we have any committee reports? I had a feeling it is summertime after all. And so we will move on to our town administrator's report, Ms. Craver.
Okay. We're in the process of finalizing contracts for the upcoming year. To that end, we have partnered with CMRPC and several other towns to procure gas, diesel, heating oil, and propane. We are finalizing the contracts for them as well as getting ready for several bids, including the bid for the Fay Mountain Farm roof. I am watching the electricity prices and will lock in when they are deeded most favorable. The Maya grant, our insurance company has sent out its notices for the grants that are out. We will be applying for a $5,000 grant for loss control. Prindle Lake Dam, we completed the paperwork for the Prindle Lake Dam betterment commitment, and it was delivered to the assessor's office before August 1st. And lastly, the FY14 audit, we've begun the audit, and Bill Freer and I met before our annual kickoff.
Thank you. Any questions for the town administrator? Do we have any other business to come before the board? Mr. Sage?
Uh-oh, a list.
A check. No.
What is?
Last week on either Tuesday or Wednesday, I was channel surfing, hit the July 22nd Board of Selectmen's meeting. I am the chairperson of the Charlton Community Development Advisory Committee, and just happened to hit it when it was announced that the award with Leicester and Charlton had been given to the town. 2 days later, or 1 day later, I read about it in the Charlton Villager. At no time as the chairperson was I ever contacted regarding the fact that the work we did the last 2 cycles, along with Andrew Lowe, was communicated to me from the selectman's office. Had this been maybe the first time a situation like this occurred, I might handle it differently, but in the last month and a half, there's been 2 other instances that communication has been lacking, and therefore I feel it's necessary to resign from the chairperson position of that committee and from that committee fully at this point. I'm sorry to say, I wish I could have a different outcome here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sage. I would entertain a motion to accept this resignation.
I hate accepting
I know,
resignations.
I do too.
I'll make the motion only because that's Stefan's for it.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
And I'm gonna offer my discussion. What I would like to do is look back on our process and see if there's steps in the communication that we can be doing more clearly.
May I see the letter, Mr. Chair?
It's, you may, it's very
Briefly.
succinct.
Commissioner
It's
thanks
succinct.
for the work that he has put into.
Yes, and also I would like, yes, if we could send a letter to Mr. Sage from the board thanking him for his work on behalf of the town. But I think most importantly, I'd like to review our communication, how that works, and see if there's something we should be doing better.
There's a hole somewhere.
Yeah, obviously. Do we have any other business to come before the board? Mrs. Zafirovich? Oh, we do have the motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair regretfully votes aye, and it is accepted. So if we can leave that with you for the record.
Absolutely, thank you.
Do we have any other business to come before the board? Chief?
thank you. As you all know, that, you know, we did receive the grant for the fire, for the ladder truck in the amount of $940,000. The process at this point now, we need to basically accept the grant. We have 30 days to accept the grant, which will be done on the next Board of Selectmen's meeting. But the grant itself is requires a 5% match as well, and I would like to just let the townspeople know that we will be looking for their support for the $47,000 that we'll be needing to, for the 5% match for the apparatus itself. We do have a study committee already together. They are looking at the equipment right now and getting their proposals ready. They are to report back to me by October 1st, and then we'll be able to make a decision on where we're going to go with the award if the town accepts the grant. It'll be ready to go for the October town meeting. That way we have a presentation ready to go so folks can see that. And I would just like to make sure that we are allowed a slot on the articles in there to make sure that we can put our presentation together and across to the community so we can get a positive vote in the affirmative for the 5% match.
Mr. Chair,
Mrs. Singer?
so just for clarification of process, this has to go to town meeting and then a ballot, or just town meeting because there's been a previous?
Well, it's all gonna, it will depend how we decide to move forward with the request for the money. If it's requested as part of a debt exclusion, then it would have to go to both a town meeting floor and to a ballot. If we look at other sources and come up with another source, it would just depend on what's required to implement that source. That may be just a vote of this board or an article on town meeting floor.
So can we, I don't know if we have to have, as part of that motion, to task town administrator to beforehand find whatever possible alternative sources may be available to us, so we know in advance what we can and can't do.
I'm sure
Based
she would
on
do that anyways.
conversations, I think the town administrator has self-tasked to look at that. We have an opportunity here to get almost $1 million piece of apparatus that, as Senator Brewer said, will serve this town for 35 years and serve this
And
region,
yeah.
this area for 35 years. We don't get many no-brainers that come before our desk. This certainly would come under that. So I've already had a discussion too with the town administrator, and she will be looking at whatever sources are available.
And by no means, we still, you know, this is great to get this grant. We know that we would have been having to put this grant onto a debt exclusion and put this levied into the community, you know, as time would have gone on. The apparatus that this grant will be replacing is a 40-year-old truck, and that truck itself would not be lasting much longer. We needed to get this grant to make it happen. We all know that we've been putting it off for about 8 years now and putting off that purchase. So it's great that we don't have to put this onto the tax levy onto our community. The only thing that still lingers out there is the engine that is out there. We did vote on that at annual town meeting for $321,000. We will be still looking for the support of the community as well in the ballot vote, which I believe is going to be in November as well. So we have a lot going on right now in the fire department with vehicle purchasing and committees that are studying the apparatus as well. But just would like to, you know, look for the support of the townspeople to ensure that we can get the ladder truck of the $47,000 and then also the debt exclusion for the engine of the $321,000. So just trying to, you know, kind of prepare folks so if they have questions, we'll have our presentation ready to go.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. I do think it's very important, as you and I discussed a little bit, it's very important for the residents to realize that these are two completely different applications. We absolutely need the ladder, there's no question about that. We're so fortunate to get it, but that does not in any way negate the need for the new engine. That's very different apparatuses for very different applications. So
right.
Fortunately, we'll have some time to get the word out and educate folks and any questions that are out there. So,
and if they do have any questions, please feel free to call the fire department, talk to me or anyone at the station. We're glad to answer any questions that they may have to both operations.
And I would also like to publicly acknowledge Captain Ed Knopf, who wrote the grant, did the grant application for this. I know he put a lot of work into it. And it's when we had Senator Warren here talking about this, it's at the point that as you mentioned, 8 years ago, we thought we had a way to buy a new ladder, which would be to put $100,000 a year into a savings account until we had that money. With the economy being what it is, that just isn't viable, wasn't feasible.
Did that last 1 year?
Maybe two. But, you know, when we're looking at $1 million pieces of apparatus, it's a daunting task for any, I'm just saying a little town like Charlton, but for any community. And it's great to see, as I mentioned with Senator Brewer here, it's great to see our state and federal tax dollars actually coming back to us in a way that is very beneficial to the town and to the area. So thanks for your update, Chief, and again, our thanks to Captain Knopf for that work on the grant, and we will have lots of discussions making sure we get the word out there.
That's great, thank you, we
Thank
appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Any other new business, unknown business to come before the board?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Craver?
We had an issue where, I know at your last meeting you voted to allow certain townwide functions to happen between the Thursday and the Monday. There may be a time where we need to access the building for Friday. And we just had one where I need to do depositions on a Friday. And I spoke with the chairman and got permission to do it here. But during our conversation, I asked, would the board consider allowing me to be able to authorize if there does need to be an opening over the weekend? So, to make it a little bit easier.
I had just
Yes, we
asked-
have had that
I had
topic
just
come up
asked for that a
before.
couple weeks ago.
Absolutely.
So what I would like to do
I think I was
is I
told
would
that
ask
they
a
didn't think you'd
motion
wanna
to
have
that
that
effect,
extra
that we authorize the
weight
town
on your back.
administrator.
Well,
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
McGrath?
if it's a question.
I make a motion that we allow the town administrator the authority to decide whether the town building should be open on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for any issues that she deems need to be taking place here.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Just a more efficient way to handle some business. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other unknown business to come before the board? Then we will be entering into executive session. Mr. Zafirovich, you got that one? You were picking up your paper already. You were ready to go.
Let's do it now. Mr. Chair, I move that we enter executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and for reason number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate if the chair declares that an open meeting law may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mrs. Zafirovich?
Aye.
Ms. Cooper?
Aye.
Mr. McGrath?
Aye.
Mr. Singer?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are in executive session. We will exit executive session solely for the purpose of adjournment. And once again, the board will be holding a goals and objectives workshop next Tuesday night. Our next regular selectmen's meeting will be on Tuesday, August 19th. Thank you all and good night.